coming up on the official Celtic FC Podcast. Joe Ledley reflects on his international career, his years spent with Celtic, and he speaks about his winning goal in the Glasgow derby.
It was just an unbelievable roar from the fans, which I haven't heard, especially because I scored it as well. It was just unreal.
Hello and welcome to the official Celtic FC Podcast. I'm Matthew Campbell and I'm delighted to be joined today by former Celt Joe Ledley. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Good, mate, and I'm delighted to get a chance to speak to you. How have things been?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, down here we're sort of, waiting for mainly the internationals now to come up with Wales, and keeping a close eye, obviously, on Cardiff City as well, which is disappointing last season for them. But yeah, all good. And obviously with Celtic as well, always watching the games and looking out for the results as well. So yeah, all good down here. Thank you.
Brilliant. I was going to actually ask you that, in terms of, I would have known, obviously, you keep a keen eye on how Cardiff City are getting on, but from a Celtic point of view as well, obviously, you spent, near enough 4 years here at Celtic. We're a winner with Celtic. Is that the sort of thing that just kind of keeps you connected to a club, or was it just a bit different because of what this club's like?
Yeah, it never leaves you. I've managed to turn my little boy into a Celtic fan, and my old man as well. He's the same. He goes out to the supporters club down here in South Wales and watches the games with them. So yeah, obviously a big fan at the club, and what they achieve at the moment has been fantastic. And like I said, it sort of never leaves you, and it's a club which is pretty close to my heart.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's good to hear. Well, we're going to get a wee chat about obviously your years with Celtic as we go on, but let's go all the way back to the start. Your sort of early life, growing up in Wales. For you, was it always football? You always had an ambition to become a pro footballer.
Yeah, I was obsessed. Like I just said, my dad's followed. We used to take me out to the pub when I was younger. Didn't have Sky at the time, so we had to go to the pub and watch it. And I had a brother, my brother who's 4 years older than me as well. He was playing a lot of football with his friends, and I was just obsessed from a young age. And the group of mates who I hung around with and still in touch with now, again, they wanted to be a footballer. So I got into grassroots football at the age of 5 or 6, but I was playing a year above, and then I sort of got scouted then by Cardiff City at the age of 9, and sort of never looked back really from there. And I'd go into training and play games with Cardiff, and managed to get a scholarship then.
Yeah. What was it? What was it sort of like? See, when you first sort of come into the academy sort of system or the youth system with Cardiff. You obviously you've got an awareness of what academies are like these days, but at that
Yeah.
point in time, was it a bit of a different approach?
Oh, massive. It was called Centre of Excellence at the time. It wasn't an academy, sort of just train at university, AstroTurf. Well, it wasn't even Astro. It was like a hockey pitch at those times, and your molds would be completely gone on your boots because it was so hard. But it was an honour, to be representing, obviously being a Cardiff boy as well, going there and trying to be the best sort of player in that area was amazing, and obviously difficult because there's a lot of talented boys in that team. And yeah, it was, you turn up and train maybe once a week, and then we sort of play the Southwest, which would be, Swindon, Exeter, Plymouth, and those sort of teams, and play on the Saturday. And again, it was a good challenge for me because, I wanted to try and be the best player in that area as well. So no, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Very honoured to have been picked for Cardiff, and I was supporting them when I was growing up as well.
Yeah, that's obviously it's something I always think must be really special as a football player to go and play for the team that you've supported. Can you remember the day that you made your debut? The feelings that day.
Yeah, I made my debut, and it was called the Carling Cup then at MK Dons away. There's quite a lot of YTSs, as we call them, and scholarship players on the bench. Told my parents, they came up and watched. And when you're on the bench, you're sort of thinking, am I going to come on? Am I going to have the opportunity? And then when you see the manager turn to the dugout and say, "Go and warm up." Um, you could feel there, right? I've got an opportunity here to come on. So once he called me to the dugout and said, you're going to have an opportunity to come on and play, I was over the moon. Some people would get a little bit nervous, but I wasn't. I just thought I was ready to go out and show, the Cardiff fans what I was about. And it's not just that. If it didn't go too well, nobody could have taken that away from me. I've represented my club, and I was excited, and I think we managed to win 2-0 or 2-1. Didn't have much time on the pitch, but it was just remarkable. And obviously having my family there as well, and all my friends messaging me afterwards at the age of 17 was, it was goosebumps. It was, mixed emotions, adrenaline, a lot. And from there, I sort of, again, I didn't really look back. I was sort of in the squad as well then, from that sort of age, at the age of 17.
Yeah, well, I was going to sort of ask you about that because it did sort of seem that way. The minute you got into the team, you never looked back, and obviously you were massively sort of rated. I was even looking at the title, looking at some articles from about that time, and it seemed like there was always teams interested in you, and wanting to take you away, be it the Premier League or whatever. But for you, in your mind, were you sort of settled and happy there, and because of the fact that it was your club?
Yeah, I was. I think from 17 to sort of 19, 20, I just really wanted to focus on playing for Cardiff City. And I was still learning a lot. Even I was playing international at the age of 17, I was still wasn't the complete article what I wanted to be. And I think being at Cardiff was helping me to progress to be that player which I was. And I think the one time when Stoke come in for, I can't remember what it was, 6 million or something like that at the time when in the Premier League. That's the time when I think I was 21, and I said to Cardiff, it's the right opportunity for the club and myself to try and move on, and again have the opportunity to play in the Premier League. But it got rejected, and I didn't throw toys out the pram or anything. I just sort of concentrated on what I needed to do as a player and try and get this club into the Premier League. And when I had the opportunity to play in the playoff final, I scored and we managed to lose 3-2. I knew at that time then I had to move on.
Mm.
I felt like I was sort of getting held back a bit, being one of the best players there as well. And I think I just needed a new opportunity. I needed to see what it was like somewhere else. I was forever grateful for what Cardiff City done for me. It was remarkable. We had fantastic times, playoff finals, FA Cup semi-finals and finals. So, I thought I took the club as far as I could, and I needed to move on and get my own career elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, before we move on to you moving on, which is obviously up here to Celtic, you mentioned that playoff final, which I was going to ask you about because obviously, you know, a player's career's full of highs and lows. You've had so many highs through the years, but I wonder then if that playoff final and the FA Cup final, which had sort of preceded it 2 years before, when you look back on those now, what's the overriding sort of feeling?
Oh, amazing. Even people say like that goal against Barnsley in the semi-final when we won 1-0 to get that club into FA Cup final for God knows how long, since 1927, I think. It was amazing. I had all my friends, all my family, all Cardiff City supporters as well. I'm forever in debt to that club. They're the ones who give me the opportunity to go out there and play football. And same again, playoff final, we come ever so close. We had an unbelievable team, great players, and if we won that game, then maybe it would have been a completely different path for me again. Probably would have stayed getting that team into the Premier League. Obviously, I would have loved to have been in that team and seen that. But I knew Celtic were interested a little bit. My contract was running out. Couldn't discuss anything because I was still contracted with the club at the time. So, when that whistle went, I just knew for me it was time to go. And then that's when, Celtic come knocking on the door and had a great conversation with Neil Lennon. So yeah, it was on to the next pathway for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and it it was obviously to our benefit as a club, of course, that you came up here. So talk to me about that then, because we're talking about sort of summer of 2010. You come up, you join Celtic. What were your initial sort of thoughts about Celtic Park and Celtic as a whole?
I fell in love with it straight away. I had fantastic, Neil Lennon was key to obviously, getting me up and having a look around and bringing my family up. And, the minute I walked out through the tunnel of Celtic Park, I just knew. I turned to my old man and said to him, "This is where I want to play." And
Yeah,
he knew straight away with the size of it and the history as well with the club. Um, and then once we had that meeting, Lenny said to me, "Go and have a day or two back down and decide." And I rang him and said, I want to sign. And then we all agreed terms, and it was a fantastic honor. And people always say, "Oh, well, what if Cardiff went to the Premier League and that?" But for me, it was amazing. I had the opportunity to play for one of the best, well, the best club in the world. Fantastic history there and what we done. And it was just, for me, it was the best time of my career as well. I really enjoyed being at Celtic. I really enjoyed the atmosphere in the change room, loved working under the coaches and the manager, and obviously playing in front of the fans as well. I had a fantastic welcoming when I come up. It was a difficult first season for me. I would have liked to have scored a little bit more, but it was just, from being it's my first real move as well. So, just getting used to the city and obviously everything which comes with it as well. So, but yeah, I loved it. It was the best part of my career without a shadow of a doubt.
yeah, it's brilliant to hear. It's always good to hear, obviously, somebody talking in glowing terms about Celtic. But you obviously you mentioned in there was Neil Lennon that you were working under when you came in at Celtic. What was Neil Lennon like, to work with on a daily basis at Lennoxtown, obviously at Celtic Park, because he's obviously a man that really, really
Yeah.
cares about Celtic. So does that sort of rub off?
It all depends how well we done and how well we're doing in training because his man management skills was, the best, second to none. And you just don't want to go on a bad day with Lenny because, as people said, he could lose it. But it wasn't many, many times. But like I said, he was just a great, great manager. He let you, he understood you. Obviously, he's just come out of the game, not long before that. He understood what players are going through and how much family mean to him. And not just that, the team bonding as well was key. And he created that atmosphere. You could easily knock on his door anytime, it was always open. Um, Never sort of put himself out of the way and didn't want to speak to the players. He was always coming to the change rooms, always making sure the banter was going. And no, he was fantastic man management skills he had.
Yeah, you were in a team there alongside, obviously, talk about Scott Brown as well. He's the captain of that team. What was Scott like to sort of share a dressing room with and to share a pitch with?
He was the best. He was fantastic. For me, on a personal note as well, I think I played the best midfield partnership was with Brownie because he let me have that attacking minded sort of player which I wanted to do and go forward, and he would sit there and we would try and dictate play, and not just that, we would always hunt the ball together and try and win it back and worked hard. He pushed me, and I pushed him in training as well, and he was a great leader. Made sure everyone was okay, made sure everything in the change room was how it should be with Brownie, and no, he was fantastic, and what he done at the club is remarkable as well, and deserved as well. So, I couldn't speak any higher than Brownie, and we had a fantastic partnership in midfield.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. It was it was a joy to watch as a supporter, I've got to say. That was a strange first season, for Celtic. Well, certainly from my point of view, I
Yeah.
think anyway, because for for a while it looked obviously like, we were going to go on and win the title, but it didn't quite work out like that from your point of view, because you picked up an injury in the game against Rangers at Ibrox, and then in the next game we go away and lose to
Yeah.
Inverness, and basically it kind of it slipped away by that point. What, was that is it added frustration at the fact that you can't be on the park and help out, you can't sort of salvage the situation?
Yeah, exactly that. What you said, when you just sat there on the sofa watching. I remember watching it. I think I was with Gary Hooper at the time. I think he was injured as well. And all you want to do is just go out there and help your teammates. Because that first season, I thought we played some unbelievable football. Emilio Izagiri as well on the left-hand side, Gary Hooper, myself, Brownie. It was just free-flowing football. It was unbelievable. I think it was the best football season I've ever seen and ever played when I was at Celtic. And yeah, you just sat there and just nothing you can do. You want to be on that pitch, you want to be helping them and trying to win a tackle and try and get a goal, but it just wasn't our day, and it was frustrating because you always think, what if, if we were playing me in hoops or if I was playing, it could have been a completely different game, but you could see at the end of the season when we knew we were going to lose by a point, the fans were remarkable, still stayed behind and clapped us because they knew we put a hell of a shift in that season and played some unbelievable football, but it just wasn't our season. And then, it makes you more hungry as a player. I always wanted to win, like I said, I wanted to win trophies, I wanted to win a league, and that's the reason why I came to Celtic. And you look back then, end of the season, and it makes you hungry. You want to go out there and get your hands on that trophy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which of course we went on to do the following season. Before the end of that 2011 season, 2010-11 season, obviously we won the Scottish Cup. Of
Yeah.
course, you were still injured at that point, but still obviously part of the group, part of the squad. Have you get any sort of memories of that game, watching on, and the feeling for the boys having won it?
Oh, nerve-wracking because, like I said, I wasn't nervous when I was playing, but wow, when you're in with the fans and in the stands and you're watching, oh, I was so nervous. And like you said, for me, just to get your hands on that first trophy was just unbelievable and deserved as well because, like I said, we were unbelievable last season and we deserved something out of it. And you could see, and the boys put an unbelievable performance in. Couldn't praise them enough. And like I said, I think we just deserve to get our hands on something.
No, definitely, absolutely correct. So the next season, kind of get off to a strange sort of start for us, 2011-12 season, because we fell sort of way behind in the league. But a game that's sort of etched in my memory, looking back on that as a supporter, is the 3 each away at Kilmarnock, where obviously we're 3-0 down at half time and
Yeah.
come back to 3 each. I mean, that seemed like a turning point from your point of view. What are your memories of that?
It was just mad. It just wasn't us as a team. We're trying to look at scenarios and how we can stop, these hiccups, as I say, and slips. And it, I don't know, we were just switching off at times, maybe. But when we went in 3-0, I honestly thought Lenny was going after that. We were waiting to have a rant off Lenny, but he didn't. He didn't lose it at all. And I thought, if we don't put our finger out here, he's going to go. And I think every player knew as well in that change room that if we don't get a draw, at least from being 3-0, that one, he could get sacked, or two, he's going to go. And we didn't want that because,
Mhm.
like I said, he was unbelievable for us. And we managed to go out there and obviously get it back to 3-3, which still isn't good enough. We shouldn't have been 3-0 down. And, us players had to take responsibility. And we knew from that moment in time, we can't do that. We can never do that again from this season. And then it's just building momentum then and getting that win and trying to build on that. And we did. And then obviously the history then at the end of the season and what we done, on that windy day at Celtic Park when I managed to get that winner to take us above them.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because that was a pretty special night. I was actually thinking back to it last night, obviously knowing that we're going to be speaking today. And my abiding memory of that game, other than your goal, is it was chaotic weather-wise. Like it was like hurricane standard.
It was terrible, yeah.
Unreal. It was a wee. I think during that day there was even a doubt of is this game even going to happen?
Yeah.
Obviously, it did happen, and you pop up with a header at the back post to make it 1-0 and to give us a win. I mean, what a night! You must look back on that with some amount of pride.
Oh, I did. But at the beginning of the game, I was fuming because Neil Lennon, as he does, he just says the team and just walks off. And then I remember turning around and looking at Brownie. Well, Brownie was sat by me and thinking, there's a lot of midfielders in this team. Like, what formation are we playing? And we just come back in the midfield. And then Gary Parker come over to me and said, you're playing left back. And I was like, I didn't need that. I wanted to try and get a goal, but it worked out perfectly. Charlie, with his left foot and his delivery as well. And I said to Parks, and then I'll go up for a corner, and he's put a back post and it's hit my head, and it was just an unbelievable roar from the fans, which I haven't heard, especially because I scored it as well. It was just unreal, and then it's just trying to see the game out then, and trying to get out and try and get a few more goals, but we managed to hold on and get the win and go above them in the league, which we didn't look back then. And it was, like you said, it was a windy night, bad conditions, and sometimes you just need a goal like that to win the game.
Yeah, nah, it really it was a real derby feel to it that whole day in the build
Yeah,
up and that night as well. Like you said, we didn't look back. Was that post match in the dressing room? We went ahead. I think we went 2 points clear that night.
yeah,
Was that the kind of feeling of this is us now? We're on it until we win the title.
yeah, definitely. I think, like we said, when you have momentum, it's difficult to stop, and that's what we had, and we got away with it big time at the beginning of the season, with the amount of points we dropped. And we knew as a footballer as well, and you learn from your mistakes. And we learned big time, one from the season before and at the beginning of this season. And we knew if we need to get our hands on our trophy, we need to continue what we are doing. And we were playing some good football as well, bearing in mind. And again, we just managed to go out there and settle the games and take it game by game and focus on what we needed to achieve. And to get your hands on that trophy was just an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, well, I was going to because obviously you mentioned a second ago there that was the reason to move here, and it was the ambition in football, obviously, to lift trophies and to lift league titles. Trophy day is always a special day, but from your point of view, to have reached that sort of your personal ambition, it must have been extra special.
Yeah, it was. It was just a relief, um, just to get your hands on that. On a league trophy was proud as well. I felt really proud that I'd done my family proud, the fans proud, my teammates, everyone around me, because I've been going on about it, trying to win this league, and it was just a relief as well.
Yeah,
Once you've got your hands on it again, you want that to continue that feeling as well. So it was an unbelievable day. I could have done it with a better group of players. The changing room was fantastic. We had some great players as well. So, and not just that, for the manager and the coaching staff who put in, a lot of hard work. So, yeah, I look back with belief and proud, really.
yeah, nah, brilliant. Into the next sort of campaign, which is 2012, 2013. I mean, in terms of Champions League, European nights, that that year, that season just contains obviously the one of the high points over the last 30 odd years for the club, which is obviously the night against Barcelona. But before we even talk about that, a couple of games before that in the Champions League, we won away against Spartak Moscow, which was a tremendous result. And we ran Barca obviously up to the last minute or
Yeah.
so at the new camp. Was there a feeling in amongst the group that this could be our year to do something special in this tournament?
I think so. I think, we started to gain a lot of experience as well in the Champions League. And we had phenomenal players and capable to play in that competition easily. And obviously that win against Spartak Moscow was a big one for us, and to get that win and get the 3 points. But then I think the big one again was taking Barca to added time. I think we built a lot of momentum from that, a lot of positives, and knowing that if we take him to Celtic Park with the fans behind us, then we could hopefully maybe do something, get a draw or a win or anything. So we had the players, definitely. We knew that, and it's just taking it game by game and trying to grind out results because it's different at times. We knew we ain't going to have much of the ball like we do in the league, and then it's just trying to be organised as a unit and work hard for each other, and that's what we done. We're a real hard working team.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And obviously that leads us on to that night against Barca. I mean, it's a strange one because words don't really, even after all these years, words don't really do justice just how special that night was. The fact that it was, the night after the club's 125th birthday and stuff like that, the full stadium display, and then we go and beat Barcelona. It's incredible from your point of view. Obviously, from a supporter's point of view, it's going to be embedded in every one of our memories for forever. Who were there,
Yeah.
were witnessing it. But from the player's point of view, describe that night.
The whole place was rocking. Even the minute you walked out of the tunnel, the roar, and then when you seen the 125th anniversary was just unbelievable. What the fans done. Again, we knew we ain't gonna have much of the ball. But you could feel it in the stadium. The fans were so behind us. Bearing in mind, we didn't have we lost a lot of key players, in our lineup as well. Brownie, Gary Hooper weren't playing, so we knew we were going to be in for a long night. But we worked on set plays quite a bit because once you've seen them, they are very small and skinny, and we knew if we can get down that end and try and get a corner, that was one of the hardest one of the hardest parts is trying to get a corner from him. But again, Charlie with his left foot and Victor, we worked on it in training to go, at the back post, and big Victor is going to be difficult to mark. And once we got that goal again, it's just trying to see it out to half time and get your breath because you're doing so much mileage on that pitch and you're doing doggies left, right, back, forwards. You got to be, you're mentally drained as well. So, going in at 1-0 and having the manager there and trying to talk tactics and what we need to do. And we just needed to sort of shut up shop and send them out wide. And again, when we made that substitution, maybe on a different day, if we had, some of the players coming back from injury, maybe Tony Watt wouldn't have had his opportunity, but he come on and a mistake from Mascherano with Fraser and 2-0 with, I just don't think people understood what was happening.
Yeah,
It was just an unbelievable occasion. You could see the fans celebrating in the background and mostly in shock. Even as players were in shock going 2-0 up. And then obviously Messi scores and it's just trying to see the game out. And when that full-time whistle went, the atmosphere was insane. Like the best I've heard for a long, long time.
yeah. It was just something totally unique and totally special in there that night.
It
Um,
was. It was just again. Is for me is one of the best Barcelona teams of all time as well, which makes it obviously stats. You see all the stats, and we knew that was going to happen. But the main one was obviously the result. So and nobody can take that away from you. And people down here keep talking about it, but listen, when you beat their team like that, is just an absolute honor and privilege to even be on the same pitch as those players as well.
yeah, no, I can bet. What were the celebrations like in the dressing room after that one?
Oh, tunes on, everyone having a drink. I think I went out after. I don't know if Paolini come in. It might have been that game. Oh yeah, it was just over the moon. Everyone deserved, a night out and a drink. Like I said, mentally drained, physically drained, and again, we were just as shocked as the fans. We couldn't believe what we've done. We knew we had, good players, but when you're up against elite players like that, it was just amazing. It was just a great group of boys, and even the manager couldn't speak highly enough for us what we achieved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. obviously we end up out of the group that season in the Champions League. But on the domestic front, I mean, the season ended sort of brilliantly for yourself because you score on the day that we clinched the title at Celtic Park against Inverness, and you score in the Scottish Cup final as well. So a really high sort of ending to the season for you.
It was. I had a really, really good season. That season, I really enjoyed my time. I was enjoying my football. Yeah, again, it was just winning. You just have that winning mentality when you come to Celtic, and you want to score on big occasions. You want to finish the season off on a high and get ready for the next one. And like I said, to get those two cups at the end was a season which I thought we done remarkably well. Obviously, would have loved to have got the three, but when you look back, we created a lot of history in that season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We, when we come into the sort of new year, 2014, you left the club to go down south, join Crystal Palace. What was that like for you? You know, because going down to the Premier League at the time. What was it like in terms of the level? I know you spoke earlier about you'd have loved to have played Premier League with Cardiff, but to go there and play anyway, and up against some of the talent that was there.
Yeah, it was a shock, really. I think we played Ross County away, and I think I scored two. And then the next day, I saw in the papers I was linked with Crystal Palace. I didn't hear anything at all. And then deadline day came. I was just about to go out of training, and Lenny pulled me and said, I don't train at the moment. Palace have put a bid in. So he said, have a good think of it, speak to your family, and then make a decision. And I didn't want to leave. I had everyone over my house. But for me, family was key, to move closer to home. My wife and kid as well. My first one, we had one at the time, and I think they wanted to go back, closer to the grandparents and family. And again, for me, an opportunity to play in the Premier League is probably my last chance coming to 26 years of age to play in the Premier League and see what it's about. And like I said, being down south here in Cardiff, and that's what you follow. Really, you follow a lot of the Premier League, and I thought this is my time and need to show what I can do. And it was a difficult move because Palace were bottom at the time, but I managed to get a buyback clause in if we got relegated. So that was a big decision making as well. And yeah, it's sad that it came to an end. I love my time. It was the best time of my life at Celtic, but again, opportunities you can sort of stop and to say I played in the Premier League is, again, everybody would take that and take the ripper out of your hand. So it's a fantastic league, great players, great teams, fantastic stadiums, but maybe I should have stayed, maybe I shouldn't. One of those where you just never know, really. But no, I enjoyed my time. Great dressing room. Just didn't work out as way I wanted to, having so many managers, really. But again, Premier League is a fantastic league to play in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even looking back here, your career, you've played with your boyhood club. You've won trophies and played in the Champions League with Celtic, played in the Premier League as well. So you've obviously ticked off some major goals, for a lot of players. But I wonder if, coming away from the domestic side of things, the international career, the years spent playing for Wales, that must rank up there in terms of high points and moments of pride for you.
Oh, it is. It's remarkable to play for your country. It's a very proud moment. I think every player would probably say the same. Very proud to represent my country. It means a lot to me and my family. And yeah, I managed to get 77 caps, which is, a fantastic honour. Great memories playing for my national team, great bunch of boys, similar to a club environment as well, off the pitch and on the pitch. So yeah, it was proudest probably moments of my career playing for your country.
Yeah. T t Tell me a wee bit about the Euro 2016. run to the semi final because like just as a football supporter watching that, I was rooting for rooting for Wales the whole way. That as the momentum
Yeah.
started to build. What was that feeling like having that sort of the pride of your nation and inspiring that feeling of hope amongst your fellow countrymen?
It was bonkers. We couldn't believe how far we went. And again, it's similar. It's just similar. I think we knew we had to enjoy it because it might not be. Sorry, it could have been our last time to qualify. For me, it was my last, but obviously other players continue to go to a World Cup and more Euros. But we had a fantastic team bonding off the pitch, like I said previous, and you could see the fans were enjoying it just as much as we were, and rightly so. It's the first time we've qualified for a long, long time, and then it's down to us to go on that pitch and try and do the country proud, which we done. We done some fantastic games. We played fantastic football, very entertaining. We had a world class player, Gareth Bale, which makes life a lot easier, especially when he's in your team. And then again, like I said, it's building momentum. We actually finished top of the group. We finished above England, and then it was difficult against Northern Ireland, which we knew it was going to be a battle. Um, and they done well. The pitch conditions was dry, made it very difficult for us to play football. And again, scrappy goal on goal, which then continues to go through into the quarterfinals where we managed to play Belgium, going 1-0 down and beating them. I think it was 3-1. Was it 3-1? Yeah, 3-1. And then you go into the semi-finals, which again you pinch yourself because it's just one of those where you just can't believe what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
you don't realize. You see all the actions back home, what the fans are doing, and going to all the parks and watching on the big screens and throwing pints everywhere. And it was unreal. It was unreal feeling, and we took it as far as we could. And losing against Portugal 2-0 in the semi-finals was disappointing. Like I said, when you have that winning mentality, you want to get your hands on a trophy or even get a medal in a final. We come ever so close, but when you have time to reflect on it and look back, it's an unbelievable achievement, and sort of have that new era of young kids and inspiring young kids now in Wales. Football's taken over for the first time for a long, long time with rugby, and it's amazing. It's amazing what we achieved.
Yeah. Just finally, but as we're wrapping up, then Joe, we spoke about the career. You're a few years retired now from playing, but you're returning to the pitch in a couple of weeks. Come back to Celtic Park to take on the Manchester United legends. How much are you looking forward to getting the boots back on?
I wouldn't say looking forward to running round and doing all that side of it, but yeah, a fantastic honour to come back. Thank you very much for inviting me. To play at Celtic Park is an honour, not just that, to see former teammates as well. You don't see them for a good few years, so I'm really looking forward to the fans will be amazing as always, and hopefully we can get a result like we did last game. But I'm really looking forward to it. I need to do a mini pre-season after my holiday probably before I come up. I haven't touched the ball for a long, long time, but these occasions you got to do them because they don't come around much, and it's a privilege and an honour to go up there and represent Celtic.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering just as a sort of side note. I mean, I know these are friendly matches and it's legends matches, and the charity is the sort of main focus of the day. But when you get it's 11v11 ex pros, I'm assuming there's still the absolute desire to win.
Oh, of course. That never leaves you. It doesn't matter if you're retired or not. And like I said, at the end of the day, you're representing Celtic, and you've got to put on a show, and you've got to put on a performance as well. So that never leaves you. Even though I've hung up the boots about 4 or 5 years ago, you still have that willingness to work hard as a team and try and get the win. If there's a tackle to there, I don't think anyone would back out of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, very much looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing you back up here at Celtic Park. I take it you'll be keeping across everything that's happening with Celtic through this season.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I go down my local pub and watch it there, and I bring my boy, and we love it. We enjoy it, and it's great to see that the clubs continue to go forward and winning trophies, and they've been fantastic, and hopefully it can continue.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Joe, I really appreciate you taking time to chat to us today. So thanks very
No
much for that.
problem. No, thanks for having me.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for watching or listening to this episode of the official Celtic FC podcast with Joe Ledley. Thank you very much, and hail, hail.